Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Right Click. As always, Birdman here. And first of all, I just want to get this out there. I have unfortunately not been able to consistently upload, as is readily obvious. Truth be told, it's just been difficult to record lately. I've had a change in job and all this kind of stuff. Just haven't had the time. I work way later now. Anyways, felt like it was at least worth explaining why I've kind of been on this unintentional bi-weekly schedule of uploading. It really hasn't been what I've wanted to do. It just is what it is, unfortunately. And also, as far as this studio goes, as of tomorrow, a lot of this is changing. So I am on a different screen, and you can't really tell it from this angle, but there's a lot of stuff different. The more eagle-eyed viewer might see, I've got a lot of new stuff up here. I have multiple wheels. I do sim racing, and I've got new kit coming for that tomorrow. I got my new wheel in 2 days ago. Anyways, all of this is changing, so I have stuff scattered, and everything behind this camera is a freaking mess. And when this recording is over, it's going to get even worse. But that's okay. I don't mind that. It could be worse. But that also means I'm having to do some kind of like jerry rigging when it comes to how I present everything here. But anyways, it might be a little bit different of an episode. I've also got my dog laying up here with me, and she's normally kind of a crackhead, and she's sitting here staring at me. I can't believe she's still. So I might have to contend with that. Lots of new things for this episode. Anyways, I want to talk about two topics. I want to talk about Nintendo, and I want to talk about EA. I want to talk about Nintendo because it's no secret I hate Nintendo. This shouldn't surprise anybody if you've seen literally any of my videos. I think I might hate Nintendo more than I do Ubisoft. Anyways, here's why. I'm just gonna. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. So Nintendo patents in-game characters summoning others to battle. So the big story, the big shift here is Nintendo seems to be smoking the meth directly from the pipe. I think that's how that works. I don't know drugs. Maybe that was a bad analogy. Point being, they have put out a slew of new patents just around game mechanics as if they are the most important thing around, and they're not. It's kind of stupid, actually. It's a bit retarded. I'm not going to lie to you. And in this big one right here, the uncontested patent could now pose a quote-unquote fundamental threat to creativity and innovation in the industry. This is on GameIndustry.biz. I've never actually seen this website, but I'm going to cover down on this quickly. Nintendo has secured a new patent that protects a common gameplay mechanic wherein an in-game character... This is a weird way of writing this, but wherein an in-game character summons another sub-character to support it in battle. The thing that I am so blown away by on this, it was in March 2023 that this was submitted. March 2023. Now, I am, again, bit of a certified Nintendo hater, but a lot of their more egregious stuff has come within the last, 6 months to a year. This was several years ago. And it was approved on September 2nd. I wish you could see my dog. This is hilarious. She's standing right here just staring me in the eyes. She has a thing where if somebody's on the phone or not talking to her, she gets very restless and very jealous. And now she's sad and she's melted. This is hilarious. It's the first time I've ever had her up here doing this. Typically, she's downstairs with her mama. Anyways. This means that games that use features like those detailed below could be in breach of Nintendo's copyright. There must be a PC, console, or other computing device, and the game is stored on a drive or similar storage medium. You can move a character in a virtual space. You must be able to summon a character. They call it a sub-character, by which they mean it's not the player character, but, for example, a little monster such as a Pokemon that the player character has at their disposal. Oh, yeah, she's getting feisty. She's very upset. She's about to crawl on me. This is going to get very interesting very quickly. Yes, baby girl. I know. I sees you. You sweet girl. Then the logic branches out, with items 4 and 5 being mutually exclusive scenarios before reuniting again in item 6. This is about summoning the sub-character in a place where there is already another character that it will then, when instructed to do so, fight. You high five? Okay. This alternative scenario is about summoning summoning the sub-character at a position where there's no other character in the fight immediately, and the final step is about sending the sub-character in a direction and then letting an automatic battle ensue with another character. I know I'm kind of just rambling here, and I'm sorry, but you got to understand that what I'm getting across here, this is BS to the nth degree. This is garbage. They are trying to pigeonhole the market. They're trying to they're not just simply trying to corner the market. They are trying to monopolize and control not just the market, but the entire development ability for the rest of the industry, as it has been for God knows how long at this point. This is garbage. There's another one right here from Games Radar. This is 3 days ago. Nintendo is so wrong it hurts, US IP expert says. Nintendo claiming mods don't invalidate its Pokemon patents. It's just, quote-unquote, a loser argument and a Hail Mary in an ongoing legal fight with Palworld. So this is an extension of a lot of that, where, as we've talked about before, Palworld blew up on its nose. Like, this whole thing with Palworld has turned into a joke. And this particular article interested me in a way that the others didn't. Nintendo recently argued that... Let me see. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I'm having to do scene switching differently. Again, don't have all my equipment. Nintendo recently argued that mods for games can't be used as examples of prior art to invalidate patents like the ones that it's using in its lawsuit against Palworld developer Pocket Pair, in a take that one U.S. patent law says is so wrong that it hurts. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company's lawsuit against Pocket Pair has been ongoing for over a year now, after the companies alleged that the survival games devs had infringed upon multiple patents, including ones related to Pokeball-style catching mechanics and boarding and riding mounts. Gonna jump down. One of the examples highlighted by Pocket Pair was the Dark Souls 3 mod Pocket Souls, a Pokemon-like mod from Software, who made Dark Souls, in 2016. However, Nintendo argued that mods don't count as prior art since they can't stand alone without their base games. But speaking to Grok Gluto in a video interview, U.S. patent law expert and Banner... that is, again, weird phrasing. Banner Witkoff IP litigation and patent prosecution partner Kirk Sigmund argues that Nintendo is so wrong that it hurts. This is where it gets really interesting for me, because the guy just kind of goes off on him. And this is kind of what I want to hone into, is the thought process behind this. Adding that, I don't know why they've made the argument. Sigmund notes that there's some nuance in Japanese law that might dictate where they're coming from, but generally speaking, when we're talking about what we call prior art for the world of patents, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it doesn't actually have to be functional, right? There have to be plenty of instances in which prior art has been used, and that is not even a computer program in the first place. Interesting. One previous unrelated example of this, he says, was in an Interparts review, basically a trial to review how patentable something is, which used a Dungeons and Dragons manual as prior art, quote, which is not a video game at all, but it's talking about character sheets and things like that for the purposes of that IPR. Sigmund continues, you don't have to go find prior art that's a specific nature, like it doesn't have to be marketed. Oftentimes, the minimal requirement is that it's written down somewhere, like you have to prove that it existed. But generally speaking, when we're showing prior art, it's some document somewhere and we're just validating the date in which it came out. So Nintendo's argument that mods are somehow different, to me, is the most asinine thing I've seen, because I know what you're talking about. I don't get where they're coming from. I think it smacks to me as someone who doesn't understand computers at all, honestly. Furthermore, Sigmund argues that from his perspective, mods are valuable, and that if you're creating a mod for a game that has a certain functionality, that's all that matters. For sure, there have been instances in which I've been in fights with the patent office, or I've been in litigation with where the references we've used have been things that were never actually made, and that had numerous real-world flaws, but that doesn't prevent them from being prior art, at least in the United States, he continues. There may be some sort of nuance there in Japanese law that I'm not aware of, but I've done quite a bit of Japanese patent law myself, but, there may be some nuance there. But in general, I think that the argument is a loser. It's one that is fixated too highly on form over function, which is just a bad idea, because where do we end that dispute? There are plenty of Unreal Engine 5 games. Those are mods too. Or are those mods too just because they're running on a singular engine? It gets into this weird dispute that no one knows what the hell's going on anymore. So from my perspective, it's just a loser argument from Nintendo. And I think that they're trying to throw a Hail Mary because there's just so much out there. Dude, this is a far more eloquent way of saying what I have been trying to say. They're full of it. They're literally just full of it. They aren't trying to make any legitimate strides in this. They just want to make arguments, and I have a problem with that. I have a severe problem with that. There's nothing about this. There's nothing about this that forms any level of legitimacy, and what are we supposed to do? You're corrupting the game industry because, to be fair, Nintendo can't compete in the same way that they would like to. They own, to some degree, they have their own niche in the market that they fulfill that nobody else does or can, and they're trying to make that or can part for the rest of game development. It doesn't work. That is corruption of the entire industry, and they're trying to monopolize all the way down to patenting game mechanics in order to completely pigeonhole the entire industry. They're trying to own things that's not theirs to own, and that's really what it boils down to. And, okay, let's take this a step further. Let's talk about... I'm going to rant if I keep going. That's the problem. I'm going to rant. Hello, baby dog. You may have heard recently that Saudi Arabia bought EA. Hi. This is a weird turn, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I don't feel like there's a lot to spend time on. I want to talk about one specific thing, just one specific thing. So first of all, they spent $55 billion. EA privatized, spent Saudi Arabia's public. Oh, what's it called? Public Investment Fund? Yeah. Public Investment Fund invested and bought EA. Now, here's the thing. Okay. Everything else aside, I want to make something very clear. This right here. Which, I gotta say, is pretty darn funny by this guy. James Bentley, well played. His title, and this is something they have been pretty open about, is that EA's new owners are leaning heavily on AI to make some money, and it's a huge debt to, which seems like one hell of a gamble to me. Okay, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this. I don't need to sit here and say what I feel about AI and what I think, because it's the same as pretty much everybody else. Listen, AI has a legitimate place in things, especially now. Now, I have said time and time again that there is a serious corruption in what AI initially meant and means now. Things have changed. Definitions have changed for really no reason. But here's what it boils down to. They have made it clear as of now that EA is now going to posture themselves into developing things with AI. They have announced that there is a large amount of development that's upcoming that is going to be done largely with AI. They have announced that they're laying a heavy amount of people off in this transition and that AI is going to reign supreme. I'm going to do something that's very uncharacteristic to me. I'm going to shut up because all I need to say, there's the dog. All I need to say, say hi. All I need to say is that, listen, we're taking the art, or really the artist, away from the art. That's all that's happening now. All that's happening is that art is being replaced by generative AI. And you see it on Twitter, you see it on social media and stuff in general. But we have gotten to the point where even game development is now being relinquished and resigned to just nothing but sheer AI. Now, it's not it's not everything. It's not wholesale. But they are setting a precedent by taking a very well-known titan of the industry, EA, doing all of this and then saying, hey, a lot of this is going to become AI. You're taking the artist and ripping them away from the art. Game development is no longer an art form. It's proof now that it's nothing more than a cash cow. And we know that. We've said this for a long time. We've said it on here numerous times, and that's not really the point. What the point is now is they're showing their hand. And if $55 billion can sit here and go, we're changing how the industry operates and the art's gone, then we've lost the industry. I understand that's a heavy statement. The sad part is I actually believe it. I actually believe it. You having fun down there? She doesn't like AI either. And listen, I don't have a problem with AI by and large. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I use... Now, granted, I have a Galaxy. But I've gotten to the point where I pretty much use Google Gemini multiple times a day. It's replaced just Google searching because it's a better way of Google searching. Now, granted, because I have a Samsung Galaxy, you get like 6 months or a year for free every time you get a new device. So if I buy like new earbuds down the road, like it applies to that or something like that. Point being, I upgrade my phone basically once a year anyways. I pretty much round the clock have the pro version of this, and it's genuinely tremendous. But that's not what we're talking about. This is basically a creature comfort, not replacing the entire gaming industry. And I have a problem with that, and I think many of you do as well. And you should. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to rant. Are you proud of me? I'm proud of me. The dog's getting into things. I'm going to call it there. How about that? That's a good wrap. Seriously, though. Hope you all enjoyed this. I'll see you guys next week, God willing. Thank you all for watching this. I appreciate it. Go check us out on Right Side Media. Just everything else. There's so much cool stuff coming out. So much cool stuff happening. If you haven't seen the stuff that Phil Williams has been doing on CNN, go watch it because it's freaking awesome. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.